So, hello everybody. Thank you for joining in. I hope you can all hear me and see my screen. And yeah, welcome to this webinar. Today we'll be talking about a future feature of Graphity for Confluence, real-time collaborative editing. So this webinar is aimed at existing Graphity users as well as maybe future Graphity users, or just if you're interested in Graphity. And it is brought to you by Yworks, the diagramming company. So my name is Jasmin Möller. I'm a software developer at Yworks, mainly for C# and HTML. And I'm also leading the development for the collaborative editing feature for Graphity. So what's up today? First, I'm going to give you a short introduction to multi-user collaboration in general. What is our motivation? We also have a live presentation of the feature where I and some of my colleagues are actively collaborating on a diagram in real time. And after that, we are going to see some features in detail, and we are going to look at some of the technical aspects and the administration. Also, there's some further information, of course. And as usual, at the end of the session, we have a question and answers round. So you can just ask me about that feature, and I hope I can come up with a suitable answer. Well, let's get started then. So first, let's take a look at collaboration in general. What are we talking about and what are we trying to achieve here? So what does the dictionary has to say about collaboration? Well, it's the situation of two or more people working together to create or achieve the same thing. I think that is from the Cambridge Dictionary. And well, in general, this just means let's work together, because that is all that is the collaboration is about. Okay, what does this mean specifically for Graphity now? So what we are trying to achieve is real-time collaboration. So everyone is free to edit at any time. It's not like you have to tell another guy to move the cursor there and create a node or whatever. We also want to be the feature to be fast, but still reliable. This is very important when you're working with graphs, because it's very easy to mess up the graph model. And we also don't want any explicit like conflict resolution or merging. Maybe you are in software development, and even then it's very difficult to even merge texts, and it's even more difficult to do this for graphs. So one of the aims was not to have this kind of extra complexity. And of course, this should be an addition to Graphity. So we want to support the standard Graphity feature set. So maybe you're asking yourself, why do I even want to use collaboration? So I don't know how many of you are stuck in a home office. We at Yworks basically are all in home office. And so this is really a thing now. You can't just walk over and stand next to your colleague and directly talk to him. And even standing in front of a whiteboard is more or less impossible. So distributed editing really has gained a lot of traction in the last years already. And I think the current situation has even sped that up. And maybe you have already tried to do some collaboration fake stuff via Zoom or other video meeting solutions, and that is very cumbersome because you still have to tell someone else to perform an edit. What you really want to do is to work directly on the diagram at the same time. And in general, a lot of graph applications, the most prominent probably is mind mapping, are collaborative by nature. You're just having an idea, you add an entity, you add a connection, and everybody is more or less free to draw these lines, draw these connections at the same time. It's actually very much like a whiteboard. And last but not least, so if you are already working with Confluence, you may know that Confluence already offers some kind of collaboration for text documents. So it's only natural to supplement this by providing our a solution for graph editing inside Graphity. Well, I think that was enough of the theory now. And so let's see how this looks in a live session. So I'm going to share my screen now for the Graphity session. So I'm the first user to start. So maybe I just perform some edits. So I don't like maybe I just edit a label. So I'm not very good at inventing labels. And so maybe create an edge here, another one to shortcut that connection. And well, at some point, maybe Frank also wants to join the session. So I think he's going to join us now. And while I'm still editing around here. And yeah, maybe you have seen, I got a notification and I got his user icon. Actually, I don't know why this icon looks, you can see the icon. It's probably a Confluence quirk, but you can also see when he moves the cursor. And so he is active. And maybe also Thomas wants to join the session. So we are 3 collaborators after that. And yeah, so you can see they both have joined the session. They I got a notification, and they are just moving around their cursors now. Okay, so and of course we can just edit in parallel. So maybe Frank wants to work on the cola section somehow, and Thomas probably for the coffee preparation. And I'm more for drinking coffee. I'm not good at preparation, so I just do some editing here. And yeah, spill coffee. That's what usually happens at my place. And you have already, maybe you have noticed, so Thomas has done some edits. You can see where he's working. You can see the results of his edits. Yeah, and Frank is also, I think he has added the cool the Coke node. And yeah, basically that's already all there is to show after all, because we already have seen a lot of editing going on. So I'm just going to show some specific features now. So I think maybe Thomas already has enough. He has done his edit and he's going to leave the session again. Yeah, so you can see he has left the session and now it's only Frank and me. So a natural question, of course, is what happens when 2 people try to edit the same element? And yeah, so maybe Frank is working on the cool the Coke, and as you can see, I can select that element and I can't work on that element at the same time. So everything is blocked, and yeah, once he has stopped editing, I can continue working on that element. But as long as someone else works on an element, it's not possible for me to edit that element. And yeah, one maybe not so obvious feature is how to deal with undo. So maybe he has done, this was his last change, and now I'm also performing a change. And now I try to say, oh, this was not the best idea probably. So I can undo my change. And after that, I'm more or less at the top of the undo stack, and you can see I've reached an undo someone else has performed. And so I'm asked for confirmation because it's maybe not obvious what has happened, and it's maybe not obvious that it's not one of my changes. So I'm just going to undo that change. Actually, I don't know what he has done, so it's probably not easy to see. Yeah, but this is in general, this is what happens here. And yeah, one other feature is working with the layout. So a layout, performing a layout requires us to that the whole graph can be edited at the same time. No element is locked. And so of course, if someone is editing an element, it doesn't make much sense to perform a layout. So again, if Frank maybe is editing an element and it's locked again, and I try to perform a layout at the same time, what happens is that the request is in queued. I could abort it, and once Frank has stopped editing a layout, the layout is actually applied. Yeah, so this was our short editing session here. And so, yeah, maybe Frank is leaving now after he has done his edits. And after that, I can also leave my session. I'm asked to save the diagram. Yeah, and that was our short live presentation of the feature. So I guess you have seen that it's really possible to edit in parallel, and it's also not possible to create conflicts. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go into some detail now. So I've talked about some of those points already, but maybe you're interested in some of the details. And so first question, of course, what features are actually supported by collaboration? So basically the answer is all editing gestures from Graphity are supported. So there are no limitations on what, say, you can easily create a group node or group elements or delete elements, perform a layout, as you've seen. So there is no feature that doesn't work with collaboration. And especially for the layout, we have a slightly adjusted solution. And also undo has been adjusted a little bit to work better with collaboration. Also, there is no limit to the numbers of users and documents that can be edited in parallel. Whether it makes sense to work with, say, more than 5 users on a document, well, I would leave that to you. Usually it gets very crowded and it's not easy to see what is happening. And so the reasonable limit is probably around 5 or 10, but there's no hard-coded limit that only 10 users can ever collaborate on a single diagram. And as you have seen, it's very easy to join a session and to start a session. There's no extra confirmation required. I don't have to invite anyone. It's very much in the Confluence spirit where everybody can collaborate on a single page too. And it's also, which is maybe especially important now when you are all working from home. Once the session gets interrupted, we reconnect automatically and you can continue where we left off. So of course there are some small limitations or yeah, maybe I'd rather say some features work a little bit different. So you have seen that, for example, for the layout, you have to wait until it can be applied. Undo is a little bit different. There's no live preview during the gestures of other people. So you can see, for example, when Thomas was moving the nodes, you couldn't see during the gesture where he was moving the nodes, you can only see the end result. We don't allow destructive operations once the collaboration has actually started. So it's not possible to just clear the diagram and or load new diagrams once other users have joined in, because that would be very disturbing for them. And well, I said there is no, it's very easy to join a session and no confirmation, no invites. I could also argue this is a limitation because there is no extra user management. So if you were looking for that one, such a feature like in Zoom or other video meeting solutions, we haven't implemented that in our collaboration solution. And last but not least, there is no cloud support yet. Okay, I've already talked about how users can join a session. It's very, very easy. So the first user has all features enabled. And as soon as other users join, you automatically switch to collaboration mode and all editors are notified. And that's already all that, that happens. no extra steps required. And also, we have seen once a user leaves, you also get a notification. Also, it's not necessary to confirm his leaving or whatever. And also from the other side, when a user joins, he doesn't have to perform any extra steps. He just can edit the diagram and he's automatically in the session. Okay, the collaboration model itself. So I've already mentioned that. So we use a locking model. It's only ever possible to for one person to edit an element, like move a node or delete elements. And basically the first one to start an edit gets the lock. And this way we don't require any conflict resolution, and the graph model is always consistent locally, which is pretty important. Say if you lose the connection and you want still to continue, you really need a consistent graph model to continue working with. So in a diagram, I like diagrams, obviously. Yeah, so the first one to edit an element locks it for all others. Also, all dependencies are locked. And once the gesture is finished, all changes are transferred to other clients and the lock is released. So other people can continue working with that element. And for the layout, it looks slightly different. So a layout request is in queued as long as other edits are in progress. And once the diagram is free or locks are freed, the layout is executed and you can just cancel a pending request anytime. So what about the technical requirements? So yeah, no cloud support. This means you need an on-premise installation of Confluence, server or data center. You need the ability to open an extra port or set up a reverse proxy on a server, on usually the server Confluence itself runs on. And the browser needs to support WebSockets, which I guess any browser in at least the last 10 years can. I don't know about Internet Explorer 6 or whatever, but certainly any browser that you can Graphity use with supports WebSockets. And in a nutshell, this means if you can run the built-in Confluence collaboration, the Synchrony service, which I guess most of you have running, you can also run the Graphity collaboration. It's the same set of requirements. Yeah, you don't need a separate server for the collaboration, for the central management part. So this is all built into the plugin. And you don't need, there are no extra hardware requirements. So of course, it requires some extra memory and processing time, but compared to what Confluence needs, so in our test, this was absolutely negligible. So until you reach a hardware limit there, you're running out of memory and processing power for Confluence itself. Yeah, the administration is completely inside Confluence. So this is all bundled into the standard Graphity settings. And it also works together with the data center edition in the sense that it's going to be certified for the for data center. We don't support any extra features for data center yet, like replication or failover. Yeah, so this was a short overview over the features and requirements for the collaboration feature. And yeah, I have some further information for you. So at the beginning, I said it's a preview. So this means it's not yet publicly released. It's scheduled for the next major Graphity release, which is, I think, scheduled for 2021, but yeah, it's done when it's done. And yeah, I think the largest open question is whether to support Confluence Cloud. I guess you all have read the announcement from Atlassian that they're going to drop the server edition, or now they have already dropped the edition. You can't buy any new licenses. which of course, I have to admit, has screwed up our planning a little bit. So the cloud version has become maybe more important for us. But it's also quite different to support. So it would be really interesting to see whether you actually want to work with the cloud version or have a server license, want to stay with it, or consider migrating to the data center version. So I have another poll prepared later, or maybe I can even start it now, because it's actually, this is the subject we are talking about. So, okay. I think you should see the other poll now. So feel free to help us a little bit with your feedback. Yeah. So it's not publicly available, but you can already try it yourself, because we have set up a public test instance where you can just collaborate yourself. So you can find it under that address, https graphity-preview.yworks.com. So yeah, this is a public instance. There's an anonymous access and 5 test users. It's reset once a day, and it should go without saying, don't leave any sensitive data here. It's only to test the feature. Also, your feedback is welcome anytime. So if you just have feedback about Graphity in general or that feature, or you find some, have some feedback while you're testing it on the live instance, feel free to send us an email under Graphity for Confluence at yworks.com. And this way you may shape the development of that feature actually. I already mentioned that we are all stuck in home office, and actually I want to mention our Fight Corona program too. So if you are working to fight the current crisis, we offer free licenses of our SDKs and also for Graphity. So if you're interested in joining the fight against Corona, just head over to https://yworks.com fight Corona, and there you'll find all information on how to get a free license and also further information about the work we are doing there. Yeah, last but not least, so if you are interested in Graphity in general, of course, we have a product page for Graphity. And also, Graphity itself is powered by the YFiles SDK. So should you be interested in creating your own solution with or without collaboration, feel free to evaluate the YFiles SDK. And maybe you also come up with a nice collaboration plugin. And yeah, I think that wraps up our webinar. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free. Okay, I can see one question here. Okay, just a second. Okay. Yeah, can you show that locking and editing part again? That was a little bit too fast. Yeah, sure. So maybe Frank, would you like to join us again? So I'm just going to open the diagram again. Okay, hi, hello, Frank. So maybe I'm going to show how we can work with the table node this time. So I'm going to create a table node, and yeah, while I'm pondering what to do, Frank is going to edit maybe the table node. Maybe he decides to drop some nodes inside the table node. So, and you can see once he is editing the table node, I can't. Yeah, I think you need to edit a little bit longer, Frank. So you can see I can't create, say, a new edge because that node might go away by his gesture. I don't know what he's going to do. And now he has created a new group node, and everything is free to edit again. And we have seen briefly that he has also tried to perform a remote layout. And now I could see what that layout was actually in progress, and I had to wait with my next edits. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So yeah, I'm going to leave that session again. Yeah, Frank, you can still continue to edit, but I'm not going to see this. And yeah, we have another question. Is there any data being transferred to Yworks? No, so it doesn't work like maybe you've seen the JetBrains solution with code sharing, where they have their own server. This is completely local. It's all inside your own network. The data stays inside your Confluence instance. There's no public server where all the data is sent to. Okay, how many users can collaborate at the same time? As many as you want to. So we haven't done any tests with like 1,000 users. I think it's probably going to be way too crowded if there are too many users. So the practical limit, I think, is around maybe 5 to 10 users, but there's no hard limit, and the underlying software should be able to handle like I think 1 million WebSocket requests per second, which is certainly more than you can process as a user. Okay, yeah, I think we have another question. Why can't we see what the other collaborators are doing? It's hard to understand the actions and gestures. Yeah, this was actually by design, and there are two reasons for this. One reason is just simply bandwidth, and yeah, the technical part, so to say, because this live updates, especially if it's more than one user, require a lot of bandwidth. And even if we compress this, this is still bound to bring your connection down. We just don't want to risk being the whole feature sluggish and slow, because you want to see some updates. And the other reason is actually, so we have done some user tests, and it's actually quite distracting if you're working at one side of the diagram, and there's constantly something moving around and switching or vanishing. It's much more distracting than you're when just text is edited, because that is pretty local and you can just mentally block it out. But yeah, graphs, so it's very easy to remove whole blocks or move whole blocks of diagram very quickly. And so it's okay to see the final result, we think, but while it's still undecided and it's moving around, we consider this to be distracting, to be too distracting for the other users. Okay, if there are no more questions, I think, actually I forgot the question slide. I think we can wrap it up here. Thank you for joining this webinar, and hope you found it interesting, and well, have a good time then. Stay safe, and yeah, See you next time. Bye.